Robert Kiyosaki got it completely wrong about this. What's up, my friends? Ryan Lee here, and welcome to the Wealth Outside of Wall Street YouTube channel, where you are here to learn how to take control over your money. Money is a tool to build and live a life that matters, and that's why you're here on this channel right here, right now. And today, I'm gonna throw a couple of rocks at one of my favorite mentors, Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that's right, my friends, the book that has sold probably more copies than just about any other financial book out there, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, this author said something extremely controversial. The thing that he said caused me to put down the book and say, this guy's crazy the very first time I read it, and he's dead wrong about a major financial concept. Now listen, I've modeled most of my financial strategy off of the mindsets I learned from this little purple book. I've used these mindsets to build a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio that generates well over 6 figures of tax-free residual income every single year. But I'll be honest with you, the first time I read this book, I was confused. So much of what is taught in this book isn't just different, it's the exact opposite of what's being taught by mainstream media. One of the main lessons that I did not understand was the concept that savers are losers. Have you ever heard this concept before? This was introduced and popularized by the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What does this actually mean? The first time I read this, I wanted to throw the book on the ground. I wanted to throw it away because I didn't understand how I could become financially free without the concept of saving. How could I take nothing and turn it into complete freedom? I wondered to myself, does saving mean that I am a loser? First, let's break down what the author means by savers or losers. I want you to think about money as a game. We are all playing the same game with money, whether we like it or not. You are trading your time for money and hoping that one day you'll have enough money to buy your time back. This idea begins with the concept of saving. You take a portion of your income that you earn by trading your time and creating value, and you save it. When you save it, you hope that it will grow and one day you'll have enough money to retire. This is the purpose of all long-term savings, right? Well, here's the thing about savings that Robert Kiyosaki is trying to demonstrate with this bold statement of savers or losers. In 1971, the rules of the game and savings ultimately changed. In 1971, savers actually became losers. So what was it that happened in 1971? Before 1971, our currency, our money, was backed by a tangible commodity, gold. Because it was backed by a commodity with limited supply, we operated on what was called the gold standard, and it kept the creation of new money in check because all money that was created had to be backed and be redeemable by gold. In 1971, President Nixon, in all of his infinite wisdom, took our country off of the gold standard. He announced that the US would no longer convert dollars to gold at a fixed value. This effectively ended what was called the Bretton Woods system and the direct convertibility of the US dollar into gold. When Nixon did this, savers effectively became losers because the government now was allowed to print as much money as they wanted. Money stopped being a store of value, which is what it once was, because when money was a store of value, savers were winners. You could effectively save money, and because money stored its value, you could pull money out of an account 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road and have it give you the same purchasing power. The longer your money sat idle in a savings account or in an investment account, the more inflation would slowly destroy your future purchasing power. So when Kiyosaki says savers are losers, this is exactly what he's talking about. Your money is getting slowly destroyed by inflation. So when your money sits idle in accounts, savings accounts, 401ks, brokerage accounts, for every dollar that you're earning in an interest rate, your dollar is systematically going backwards in purchasing power and future value because of inflation. Think about it this way. Most people believe that they're earning somewhere between 6, 7, maybe 9% in their market-based savings accounts. They also believe that inflation is somewhere around 3%. What this ultimately means is that you're not actually earning 6, 7, 8, or 9%. You're earning whatever the value is after inflation, meaning if you earn 9 but inflation is 3, you're really only earning a 6% rate of return. My friends, you're effectively losing the game of money. Savers are losers because of inflation. And you can see what's happened to the American savings rate because of inflation. It used to be around 10 or 15%. The average American would save a significant portion of their money because it stored its value. But in 1971, when inflation started to rise, well, here's what happened to the savings rates. They started to tank and plummet. And outside of what happened during the COVID pandemic when people were locked in their homes, today, the average American saves about 3% of their total income. With all of this context in place, let me help you understand why Robert Kiyosaki is dead wrong. I get a lot of people that come to me and say, hey, look, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'm not going to save because savers or losers. I'm going to create financial freedom out of nothing. Listen, my friends, I want to point this out. To become financially free, you must save money. You must create a delta, a gap between what you make and what you spend. That amount of money will then be the fuel when used right to create financial freedom. Let's dive into this calculator and do a brief case study of why and how savings is so powerful. Now listen, this calculator was created by Todd Langford, the founder of a company called Truth Concepts. But let's say we have a 25-year-old, a person right out of college, entering the workforce. Now let's give this individual the benefit of the doubt, and let's say they're making an exceptionally good salary, around $80,000 a year. That's a pretty healthy salary. Let's also say that this person is 100% committed to the concept of saving money. And in order to save as much money as possible, they decide to continue to live with their parents. Now, if we look at this, $80,000 made in year one, over the next 40 years, from age 25 to age 65, that would mean that this individual would make $3.2 million during the course of their career. A multi-millionaire starting off with a salary of $80,000 a year. But now let's add a little bit more reality into this. Let's say that this individual is able to raise their income on average every single year by 5%. They're a producer, they're super committed to creating value, solving problems, and every year they get an on average annual increase in their pay of 5%. Now they're still living in their parents' basement, but ultimately what this means, as you can see over here, this now means that during the 40-year working career from age 25 to age 65, this individual is going to literally make $9.6 million. Now, in order to introduce the concept of savings, let me also introduce the concept of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the cost of what could have been. It's when you make a decision and the alternative could have been decision B or decision C. It's if you chose to go to McDonald's today and you could have eaten a salad instead. The opportunity cost is healthy or unhealthy, right? And so here's how we're going to look at this as it relates to money. Every dollar that comes out of this individual's equation, the opportunity cost is $22 million. What could have been. So dollars spent on taxes, dollars spent on food, on mortgage, just dollars spent to live a life. The opportunity cost is it could have been $22 million. So let's inject a little bit of reality. This individual is going to move out of his parents' basement, and the very first thing he's going to do is he's going to start paying his taxes. Now, for the wonderful privilege of going to work and earning up to $22 million, this individual would have to pay state taxes, federal taxes, and employment taxes. What that ultimately means is if this individual is paying 35% of his income in taxes, that will have a real cost of $3.3 million. But that $3.3 million, that's money that could have been earning, in this example, a 5% interest rate. So the actual loss isn't just the money out of his pocket, the actual loss is the opportunity cost that it could have grown, that $3.3 million could have grown to $7.8 million. Now, if we go over here to the right-hand side, our opportunity cost is we could have had 22 million, but now we're in a position with only 14 million. Now, again, only 14 million, but let's inject a little bit more reality. The average American today spends anywhere between 30 all the way up to 45% of their income on debt. Student loan debt, mortgage debt, car debt, credit card debt, you name it. The average American today is spending their future by living in the past. So let's say that this individual is going to have 30% of their total income going to debt. All of the associated debt, school, mortgage, car, everything, right? Again, the actual cost of that is 2.8 million. The opportunity cost is 6.7. And if we go back over here to the right-hand side, we could have had 22 million, but now we're down to about 7.8 million. Still not bad, but we haven't even started talking about living life yet. How do we put food on the table? How do we go on vacations? How do we pay our cell phone bill, right? So let's say that this individual is spending 32% of their income on just all of the other necessities for life. Ultimately, what this means is they're saving. There's a delta, 3%, between what they're making and what they're spending. On taxes, on debt, and on lifestyle, there's a 3% savings rate, which is the average savings rate of an American today. Now, what this ultimately means is the opportunity cost here is massive. My friends, we could have had up to $22 million, but because life injects itself in the middle of this equation, now assuming we're able to save 3% of our income, we save it every single year for 40 years straight, and we earn a 5% compounded rate of return, our future retirement balance is $675,000. Now, you might look at that today and say, that's not bad, considering that the average American has only $250,000 saved up, but that's a far cry. That's a massive gap between $22 million and $675,000. Now, if you look at this and say, I don't have enough to retire. There's not enough money here to retire. The very first thing that financial planners and people are going to try to help you solve is, how do I get a better rate of return? Your problem is you're only earning a 5% rate of return. If we come back over here and we adjust it, and maybe we put our money in a mutual fund or a 401k or something that's earning maybe a 7, 8, let's even go a 9% rate of return, let's now see to what that does in the future. That now puts us in a position where instead of having $600,000, we have 1.5 million, right? And still not bad. But at the same token, my friends, is that even doable? If we look at the long-term historic average that the average investor gets inside of the stock market today, it's very relevant that they're only getting between 3 to 5% in all actuality. So again, is 9% possible for you? Maybe. Dave Ramsey says it is. I don't believe so. So my friends, here's the thing I want you to consider with this. Savings is the one thing inside of your financial plan that you have complete control over. It's the one thing that will give you a guaranteed 100% predictable rate of return. One of the best ways to save is to get very, very crystal clear on why you're saving. What is it that you're putting money aside for the future? Envision that future. What does that future version of you, your retirement, your financial freedom, your family, your travel, your adventures, what does that look like? What will it feel like and what will it be like? Give your savings a purpose that you can both see and you can feel. My friends, the problem isn't savings. It's where you put your savings that will ultimately determine if inflation is working for you or it's working against you. In some of the other videos that I won't go into on this particular one, I'll give you the examples of how you can actually make inflation make you wealthy. So if you can take a portion of your savings and put it in a vehicle where inflation makes you money, my friends, it makes your path to financial freedom virtually guaranteed. Here's the challenge I want to give you. If you want to become financially free, your goal should be to save a minimum, no matter who you are, of 10% of your income, a minimum. The higher you can increase that number, the easier it's going to be for you to become financially free. So in this video, you learned why savers are losers. You also learned how savings is the one thing that you have complete control over and why you must save at least 10% of your income if you ever want to become financially free and buy your time back. Now, I want you to tune into the next video inside of the YouTube channel so I can show you how to direct your savings toward assets that work with inflation. When you do this, my friends, you're going to turbocharge your savings. And instead of losing, like what happens when most people save their money when it's stuck in a 401k, you start to win because money is now working with economic conditions like inflation instead of inflation working against you and your goals. So my friends, if you found this video helpful, here's what I want you to do. I want you to put it into practice for yourself first and foremost. Start saving more money. Then I want you to share the wealth and the freedom with someone that you care about. Friends don't let friends retire broke. So hit that share button and join me on the next video where I'll show you how to use a component in the passive income machine using real estate.